Most people think growing a business to millions, tens of millions, or even $100 million plus is about having the right systems. And sure, you need basic customer service and bookkeeping systems to keep the lights on, but to quickly scale a business 10 times or 100 times, systems are not the problem. What you need instead is one single funnel that can scale. I started in 2009 with a PayPal account that did $700 in the first month. Since then, I've personally scaled multiple brands to 9 figures and helped 38,000 founders strip away the complexity of growth to generate billions in combined revenue. In this video, I'm going to show you the exact 4 steps I use to scale funnels to millions. From around 2012 to 2018, I was building a company, amazing.com, that just blew up. I was one of the early people to figuring out how to scale on Amazon. So we ended up creating a training program called Amazing Selling Machine that ended up, the first launch we ever did sold $1 million. And then the next year when we relaunched it and kind of revamped it and refocused it on just one model, which was really private label or creating a custom consumer brand, that did over $6 million in that next launch, then $7 million, then 16, then 20, and we did launches as big as $22 million. So as you can imagine, I built this business from nothing to over $100 million in sales. And so I could do nothing else. I couldn't even do the e-commerce stuff I was teaching. I was just trying to hold on while this rocket ship was taking off. But finally, in 2018, I started having some breathing room. I put a CEO in place of that business. And so I was looking for a new business to start, something in e-commerce, doing the stuff that we were teaching, but going after a way bigger opportunity. So I ended up getting into drinking healthy coffee, and I found a friend that literally had one of these businesses sitting there on the side. It was only doing about $200,000 a year, but I could see that there was something there with the product. So I partnered up with him in January of 2019. It did $17,000 in sales that month. Today, we do over $5 million per month in sales. We were able to scale this business really off the back of one single funnel. And that's the lesson we're going to talk about today. Scaling a funnel is like getting a plane off the ground. Most founders try to scale by bolting more weight onto the aircraft, more products, more channels, more agencies, more systems, and that's why they never get airborne. A plane takes off only when lift exceeds drag. In your business, lift is customer value. If you raise that, and the business rises almost automatically. So when I say customer value, that's the total amount of stuff that customers buy from you over their lifetime. But typically we're looking at it on a 12-month basis. So I like to look at 12-month customer lifetime value and specifically on a profit basis. So if you have around a 50% gross profit margin, and like us, your 12-month lifetime value for revenue is $200, then that means your profit lifetime value or customer profit is $100, half or 50% times the $200. So that's what you really want to know. And what you're trying to optimize for is something that I call visitor value. So visitor value is just that profit amount. So for example, the $100 in profit over the year for your typical customer times the conversion rate of your funnel. And so if your funnel converts at say 10%, which would be very high, but it makes the math easy, 10%, and a customer is worth to you $100 in profit over the first year, that means that visitor value is $10 or 10% of the $100. That means as long as you can get qualified traffic to your page for $10 or less, you make money. And then as soon as that period ends, for example, the year, every order those customers place for you after that is free money. So that's the formula that you're optimizing for here. And those are the 4 steps that we're going to walk you through is how to maximize that value and when is the right time to really start scaling traffic. So step number 1, I call trim, which is about getting the sales flowing in. So when a plane needs lift, the pilot adjusts the trim to change the pitch with minimal effort. The same idea here. You tweak your hook, your angle, your pitch, conversion jumps, and suddenly your business has real lift under the wings. So the idea here is that you are doing whatever it takes just to get sales flowing in because you can't optimize your average order value, which we'll talk about. You can't optimize your customer lifetime value. You can't even really optimize conversion rate until you get people buying something. That's why almost always when I'm launching a new product or a new funnel, I'll intentionally start with the simplest funnel possible and likely a lower price or a bigger discount. That makes sure I start getting orders and then I can start tweaking and optimizing. So if you're not getting conversions yet, your first goal is just to get sales flowing in. 5, 10, 20 a day is ideal. Even if you're losing a bit of money, don't lose a ton of money, but even if you're losing a bit of money, that'll give you the data you need to optimize everything else. And there's kind of a dual meaning in this first step of trim. So the first is, as we talked about, is in a plane, changing the pitch of it. And then the second one is about subtracting the stuff that's holding you back. What I see most often when people want to scale a funnel is they're trying to do 7 things at once. They're trying to scale on multiple channels with multiple marketing traffic sources. They're trying to scale with multiple products, multiple funnels. You need to really pick your battle. Find the product that's going to scale the most, that has the most potential. Create one really good funnel and focus on one really good traffic source. And that can make all the difference in the world. Step number 2 is to get profitable upfront. So here we're talking about increasing your average order value, and I call this step thrust. So next, your goal is to increase thrust by increasing what each customer pays on day one. So you use things like pricing optimization, bundling, upsells, and this is where you really get the force you need to break gravity. Higher average order value equals more thrust equals faster acceleration. So once you get orders coming in, the whole goal at first, because I've never built a business with outside funding. I've never had VC funding, never private equity funding, never any of that sort of stuff, never debt. I've had to build businesses based on the cash flow that they produce. So once you get conversions coming in, your goal is to increase your first order value or average order value so much that your cost of ads are covered. So for example, if your cost of ads per sale are $50, then you want to make at least $50 in profit on day one, or at least within 1 or 2 months of every single customer on average. That means you're basically getting customers for free, and that's how you can scale this thing with no outside funding. And you do that by possibly increasing prices, which you have to be aware of the possible negative effect on conversion rate. Remember, we're optimizing for visitor value. So we could sell bags of coffee, for example, for $1,000 each. And sure, our average order value is going to be great. We increased our prices. Everyone loves increasing prices, but our conversion rate will tank so much that we'll actually end up making less money. So typically raising prices is a good idea, but not always and only up to a certain point. But pricing is one way to increase average order value or first order value. Second one is through bundling. I have a phrase I like to repeat a lot of the times, which is never let a customer buy just one. So whenever somebody's buying something from you, especially e-commerce, consumer brand type products, never let them buy just one. Even companies that are selling, multi-$1,000 mattresses and, those kind of like sleep cooling devices. I've had one of these before. A lot of times they're going to try to sell you multiple of those, which if they can sell multiple mattresses or multiple $1,000 bed cooling devices, you can sell multiple of whatever product that you sell as well. So default option is just let people buy 3, maybe even 6 of the product that you're selling. True Classic has done this well. They'll sell literally packs of like 9 t-shirts at once. Nobody else does it, and that's why they grew so fast and they've crushed it. And so the other option, other than just multiple units of the same product, is depending on your brand, is to bundle multiple of different products. So there was a guy that I was coaching at one point. He was doing this in the skincare market. So he would be selling like a moisturizer and an eye cream, and then some other product, and they'd all be bundled together in addition to the option of just buying the one product, but you got a better deal if you bought multiple. So that's totally fine too. And then the last piece is upsells. So this is very easy to do on Shopify. You can do it basically any platform, but offer something to people post purchase. That means once they've entered their credit card information, billing information, that order is locked in, have some sort of offer that you present to them before they get to the checkout page. All those 3 things is basically how we've taken what most people sell as like a $15 bag of coffee, and our average order value is nearly $80. Step number 3, I call tank, as in fuel. So get customers to buy again. So even with lift and thrust, you don't get far without fuel. In your business, fuel is repeat purchases and lifetime value. When customers keep buying, your range is going to increase and flight becomes smoother and predictable. So once you have your conversion rate, which is step 1, your average order value or first order value, which is step 2, both of those are high and doing well. So the next is to increase the remaining part of your lifetime value, because a big part of your lifetime value from a customer, which can be anywhere between 40 and 70%, is that first order, which is why getting that first order as high as possible is so important. But in our business, we get about 40% of the order value upfront on day 1 and about 60% of it over the remaining of that first year. But depending on your business, we sell a consumable product that's repeat purchase. I've got a buddy that sells gas masks, for example. He's going to get a lot more of his order value on day one because people are buying stuff for catastrophic events that may happen. And so he needs to really maximize that first order value because it's not a consumable product and people are basically going to buy this stuff, put it away, and hopefully never have to need it. Where in our business, people are consuming this on a daily basis. So it's kind of going to depend on your business, what percent of total lifetime value is that first order. But either way, beyond that first order, your goal is to get customers to come back and buy as much as humanly possible because that's going to allow you to have a higher profit lifetime value, have a higher visitor value, and be able to outspend all of your competitors and be able to run traffic that they just can't run profitably. So the way to do this is you have multiple ways to follow up with people. And so we follow up with people via email, text message, postcards, retargeting ads. We a lot of times try to get them on our social media channels and a private Facebook group. And so those are all the ways we try to follow up with people. And in our case, we're typically trying to get them on subscription. And so your business, you may not have a subscription, though it's something to consider adding if it fits in your brand. You can kind of make it work. So we try to get them on subscription, but if nothing else, we try to get them to come back and buy more bags of coffee. And so in your business, get them to come back and buy literally anything. Could be the same exact product they already bought. That's the easiest if you can do that. Otherwise, this is why it makes sense to have a catalog of products that are complementary to the upfront product that you primarily sell. And so you want to have back-end products that you can sell to those customers that you market through all those different channels. And there's kind of two components to this. One is just completely automating it. So with email autoresponders, retargeting ads that automatically get triggered when people buy. So you want to automate a good chunk of this, but you also want to take advantage of time-based promotions. That's why, we just did over, I think it was $1.6 million during Black Friday this past year, Black Friday and Cyber Monday. And those kind of holidays, people just have their credit cards out and they're just buying everything they possibly see as long as you give them a good deal. And so you want to take advantage of those holidays in addition to having a lot of stuff automated. So this is why having a marketing calendar is one of those key tools of a business. That sounds crazy, but I had done probably $100 million in sales or something total, all my businesses, before I really started seeing the power of a marketing calendar. Planning out 60 to 90 days in advance. How are we going to take advantage of these holidays? How do we make up our own holidays? We have what we call a life boost day, but also even taking advantage. It could be your birthday, could be your business's anniversary, any of those kind of things. Putting those on the calendar, using that in addition to the automated flows is how you're going to maximize your back-end revenue and your total customer value. So step number 4, I call throttle. This is about getting more traffic. So once you have lift, thrust, and fuel, you hit full throttle. This is when ads, traffic, and reach scale effortlessly because you aren't dragging dead weight anymore and the plane just wants to rise. So this is why I put this as step number 4, because most people, what they do, because believe me, Facebook and all the other platforms are more than happy to take your money. It's very easy to go onto any of those platforms. They make it extremely easy now to go on their platforms and start spending money. We one time, because I haven't run a ton of YouTube ads, at least personally, we've had some agencies that have, but I remember one time, I wanted to run some YouTube ads and I accidentally spent $5,000 in 5 minutes advertising on YouTube's homepage. Believe me, they make it easy to run ads. That's not the problem. Getting traffic is never the problem. With an unlimited budget, you can get unlimited traffic, but you're going to basically go bankrupt doing that. What you have to do first, get your conversion rate high, get your average order value high, get your lifetime value high, which all makes your visitor value high. Then you put on the traffic. Then you hit the throttle, and that's how you start soaring with your business. Because once you have a higher visitor value, once you make more money per visitor than all your competitors, you win. The game is over because they can't afford to advertise the way and at the scale and the places that you can. For example, if you make $10 per visitor and they only make $5 per visitor, if it gets to $7, $8, they're burning cash, you're still printing money. Who's going to be able to scale at that point? Obviously you. So to recap the 4 steps, step number 1 is to get your conversion rate high, get orders flowing in. Step number 2 is to get your first order value high. Step number 3 is to get your lifetime value high. Then lastly, step number 4 is to step on the gas and get your traffic flowing in now that you make more money per visitor than all your competitors. So if you want to learn more and go deeper, I've created a 100% free newsletter that I email twice every single week. You'll be joining 80,000 people that are scaling businesses. Click the link in the description below to get it for free. So to wrap up, most founders never take off because they keep adding weight and calling it systems. You don't need more tools, you need lift. Build the funnel the right way, and the business rises whether you push it or not. Scale doesn't come from more systems. It comes from building enough lift that growth becomes inevitable. Thanks for being here to grow and learn, and I'll see you soon.